I would like to talk about some the most common challenges that you face during your classes. Could be online, could be offline, because our today's webinar is trying to cover both, right? So I'm willing to hear whatever challenges you bring up here, and I'm gonna write them down as well. You can unmute your microphone, you can write to the chat, it's up to you. Depends on what you prefer. Struggles with the setup from student side. Okay, by setup, do you mean, could you please elaborate here, Ivan? So what do you mean by setup?
Like some technological problems when something doesn't work, cameras, microphone, and then say,
Mhm.
"Oh, I don't know what to do. Can you help me?" And I just have no clue what is happening from their side.
Ah, right, right, because you were trained to be a teacher, not a customer support worker. Yeah, sure, absolutely. So then the question here is how we can handle this, and most importantly, to try handle this beforehand. The earlier the better, right? So you can tell them, um, like, could you please in advance check your camera and microphone? If there's something wrong, send me a screenshot or whatever, and just do your best and pray. Yeah, just with fingers crossed. Unfortunately, not everything depends on you. When students say nobody says like that, to explain something even easier than you have already explained. Sometimes I just give up and say it in Ukrainian. Okay, something even easier. Like for example, somebody asks you to explain table and you show the table and they ask you to, okay, could you give me more details or what exactly do you mean here?
Maybe some words or grammar that is quite clear. Yeah, I want to explain it as clear as I can,
Mm,
but it
mm.
still is hard. So yeah.
Right, right. In that moment, you're not the biggest fan of your students. Yeah. You can always consider some plan Bs in this case. Like when you're planning the lesson, okay, this is a really difficult word. Like, what if they look at me with their, like I'm speaking in Chinese. So, and plan B. Okay, so if they don't understand my simplified language, then I switch to translation. If they don't understand my simplified language, I will give them a clear sentence with this. If they don't understand the sentence, I give a collocation. If they don't understand collocation, then I translate. So basically, you can think in these categories there. SS stands for students. Okay. Otherwise, my webinar would be banned in Germany. So SS means students. And to explain what students say, there's an error alert in Kiev. So whoever feels like they want to go to shelter, feel free. But I'm gonna stay here because I don't care anymore. so and yeah, so struggles with may I write tech setup. Cool, thanks. Okay, great. And I also had some suggestions that I would like to add here that were like all of the materials today are based on observation notes. Okay, I observed some lessons. So have you had some of these during your work?
Yes.
Okay, which one? And when could you give us some details?
For example, translating too much. and not participating. About translating too much, it's like a pain because sometimes I give like super obvious context of the word, and we've been working with this word for quite a long during the whole lesson. And then the student says, okay, but still, how do we translate this? And I'm just, why do you need to translate it if like we have dozens of examples, dozens of contexts? You use this word correctly today, and even you said that you understand this, but still you're willing to translate it for what?
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you handle it? Did you find a solution?
Actually, I came up to a conclusion that for some students, it's really easy just to translate because it's their just learning style, and they just get the information better this way. And well, if I understand that my approach doesn't help and they are just persuading me to translate it and force me to give them a translation, so I will just give them and I will not spend a lot of time on this during the lesson.
Yeah, sure. Like I'm not judging you, you know. If you think about time management, sure, translation, lower levels especially, it's a way to go. Yeah, especially if students request it. So, all right, Olga said no homework. Has anyone else had this problem where students regularly just pretend it doesn't exist? What are the worst cases regarding homework? Could you share something maybe from your
Like the
experience?
teams, they just hate doing it. They think that it's
Mm-hmm.
unnecessary. If they are coming, it's already like they move to something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. So what do you think we can do? Is there anything we can do, or we should just give up?
Maybe
Okay.
try to make it more relevant to them. Some
Okay.
meme.
Okay.
Or,
So you mean like personalize it?
yeah, and more like I try so they create their own like memes or posts in Instagram or leave comments somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. Yeah, like one of the best things I heard was when my student said, "So, Mark, yesterday I opened your homework and I looked at it for a few seconds and then I closed it." And yeah, so that was at that point I thought, okay, maybe not personalized, maybe just give up. But we kept on pushing and eventually he did something. Uh, so today we're going to address some of the challenges. I'm not going to say all of them, but just some, okay? So first, let's look here. Hold on. Yeah, maybe let's look at this one later. For now, let's quickly move to warm-ups. All right, so first of all, there is like a couple of things. Of course, there is more you can add from yourself, but there is just the most common according to my observation also at our school. The first one we're going to discuss is going to be decided by you, okay? So I'm going to give control to Anastasia, and you're going to press spin here, okay?
Okay.
All right, so the first question to everyone, have you had this problem with warm-ups? What do you think is like the possible way to manage it? Very shortly. You can again type in the Zoom chat or unmute your microphone.
Can I?
Sure, sure.
Okay, so I usually ask if it's a new student, I ask if they have learned English before, and yeah, how they feel about it. And then I try to match their needs, and if they know something, yeah, I can give a usual warm-up. If they don't, probably I will translate more or try to do something easier with them.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, so regarding this one, then I would like you to look and match what you think is the best option. Okay, so when the warm-up doesn't match level or needs of students, like you are talking about animals with a business group of students, yeah, for example. So what would be the best solution out of these breeds?
The solution is to tailor warm-ups to the group's level and interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's quite simple. Okay, great. Let's have one more go. Anastasia, could you try one more time?
Sure. Go.
All right, this is an actual case. We had a teacher who started a lesson like, okay, guys, so this last weekend I was ironing my t-shirt and then I went shopping to the mall. And then it was 20 minutes later and she was talking about herself. And of course, I had to somehow explain this obvious that like you shouldn't talk about yourself for 20 minutes. Please include students, involve students in some way, etc. So have a glance here again and vote for what you think is the best option.
Start with students' questions.
Yeah, sure. So can you tell me some examples that like how we could start with students' questions instead of teacher-centered warm-up?
Okay, sometimes I give two truths and one lie, so it includes everyone, teacher and the students as well. Or just questions about their life. Yeah, just direct questions.
Absolutely. Yeah, just don't make it like, okay, how are you? All right, let's check homework. This is this point from here. So what do you think about this one? Because again, it's a real one. I can't stress how often I've seen this. So what do you think is the best way to tackle this one? Yeah, well, Olga brings up also a good point here, like minimum homework. So my question, do you check all the answers from homework, from workbook? Let's say you have roadmap workbook, or how do you manage these aspects? Don't be afraid to speak. Nobody's gonna punish you, so feel free.
Well, actually, no. We don't spend too much time on homework during the lesson, personally. Usually it's something like sometimes I may ask to send me their home tasks and I will just correct them before lesson. Though I don't like it because I spend my personal time on this. Or in other case, I just emphasize on the necessity of doing this home task, and then, well, students do that. I just ask them to maybe collect some cases that were super difficult, and we would just discuss them during the lesson, or maybe some questions they didn't understand.
Sure.
Nowadays, it doesn't happen like this because everyone uses ChatGPT and they can just
Absolutely.
find out the answers.
Yeah. So it's pretty rarely that they really tell you like, oh, I had this problem, can we discuss? So just check your workbook answers, and that's it. If you don't have any questions, we just move on to next part. So really good point by Ivan here. And the next one I wanted to discuss is when you have the same warm-up every lesson.
Use a wheel, dice, mystery activity.
Okay, so what websites, what platforms do you use just not to go for these, repetitive warm-ups from roadmap? Do you ever try to go for something different?
Yes. For
Okay, could
example,
you?
I can occasionally do this. For example, just to discuss what corgi are you today, or what do you need today, where I just put some emojis with description. They need to pick and explain why they need this or that.
Right, it's quite simple. And I guess there is a lot of stuff which is already made for you here. Like there's a quiz, there's an actual quiz, what type of corgi you are. So it took me 5 seconds to find a warm-up related to this. So Ivan, yeah, that's again a pretty simple idea, but it works. So in terms of engagement, it sounds great. So the last one is probably going to be no connection to I guess. So we're gonna discuss this one together. So what do you think about this one? What should I match it with?
With topic-based questions and visuals.
Yeah, again, pretty clear, right? Self-explanatory. Okay, great. So please let me know if I missed something. You can add some suggestions here, like what other common mistakes related to warm-ups, or maybe what solutions you would add here.
Sorry, what should we do? I don't understand.
Maybe I missed some common problems or mistakes in warm-up. Yeah, maybe if you can add more, we can add. If no, we can just move on. All right, great. So I'm gonna do some warm-up, but something's gonna be wrong with it. Like it's not gonna be the best warm-up in the world. And you will tell me what you think is wrong here and how you would fix it. Okay, guys. So before we begin, this weekend I ironed my shirt for 3 hours. And anyway, can you please check your homework? Also, we're learning past perfect today.
Is it a real sequence the teacher would say?
It's a little exaggerated, but it's a real case, sure. As with stand-up comedians, like it's almost 100%.
It's again personal about the teacher and also not logically sequenced. So he jumps from one topic to another and it's not understandable.
So let's discuss. Do you think we can share something personal about ourselves? Like, would students really appreciate that? What are your views on this?
Yes.
Sometimes yes, and they sometimes ask themselves, yeah, what have you been doing? Yeah, tell us about it.
Sure. So they are looking for connection. They don't want to see like a robot or someone. They want to see a real person there, that you are not like a simulation or something. So yeah, great. Let's move on to the next point. So in logical sequence of lesson plan, let's say the next one's going to be vocabulary, the way it's on roadmap. So yeah, that's, by the way, I think this is one of our past locations that is no longer alive. I guess this one used to be on Podil or somewhere. So Olga might correct me if I'm not here. All right, so anyways, jumping into vocabulary. So what are the biggest challenges, pitfalls that you have related to vocabulary? Practice, presentation.
For me personally, adjectives are a pain to explain.
Adjectives are painful to explain. Mhm.
Yeah,
Why and how do you usually fix it?
it's very difficult to represent it, to give an image of it, because it's not an object. And like with some explanations, it may be quite difficult for student to understand.
Mm,
And the only thing here is that you may just use some lower level synonyms to explain. For example, like
mhm,
enhance, that means improve, and just pray that student will understand that they are the same.
mhm. All right. So difficult to explain. And should we say difficult to explain without translation?
Yeah,
That's a great point. Thanks. This one is really relatable. Yeah, like I feel your pain here. All right. Anything else from anyone else?
Like when given some context and they still don't want to understand the word, so like the context can be quite great.
Mhm. Okay. So you mean like difficult to convey the meaning by using context? Because it's
Yeah,
too big?
some they just don't want to. They want just translation and don't think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point, right. And Olga says here that students' laziness or unwillingness to use the new word to pick what's off the top of their heads. Right. So when students are struggling to pick something off their heads, is there any way we can push them, force them somehow to pick, or should we give up? Like, what are your thoughts here?
the teacher at least may try to insist to do that, not just simply give up. At least a minute.
Yeah, good point. I know it sounds tough. I completely get it. Well, like when you try to communicate and they're just looking at the floor or somewhere at the ceiling, like, please stop. But still, yeah, still there are ways we can sort of work through it, even on lower levels. And it's all about your tools, and it's all down to your preparation and how resourceful you are. So I just randomly put some sticky notes here. And again, I would like you to look at the problems and first read the first one and think which one of the greens it matches. Okay, so the greens are here.
For the first one, probably contextual practice.
Okay, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good match here, right? So let's put it here. Okay, any other thoughts about others?
One, interference, then rush to translate.
Okay. So L1 is this, not to say pretentious, but it's like really sort of Celta-style term for using Ukrainian or Russian, depending on the student. And that's a different point, right? Like how we can avoid translation. What do you think about this? Like, what are the ways across different levels to avoid translating?
I give just other examples that are really easy to understand. They are all over, so students may know these words more.
Right. So to give sentences which make it crystal clear.
Yeah. So, for example, they don't know if the article is used with cities and countries. I just say, how can you say "Я живу в Києві"? And
Right.
they say, I live in Kiev, so there is no article.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. That's a great point. And do you use only yourself? Like, do you use yourself? That doesn't sound. Okay. So, do you come up with those examples yourself, or do you use ChatGPT or something to generate those examples?
Usually myself. Yeah, just some easy examples. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks. So love your involvement here. So there are a few other points. Please have a look and tell me your thoughts.
Russian to explain. It's the next one. I don't say the first word. Use visuals.
Okay. So Russian to explain. Use visuals. Yeah. All right. So by visuals, could you give some examples? Like what could be visuals from where? How can we use them? If you know, of course. If not, it's
Yeah, pretty simple. I use it quite often when, especially when we're talking about nouns. Yeah, the person, for example, doesn't know the word fortress. I just Google the word fortress and use Google Images. And okay, look, this is a fortress.
yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, sure. So I would say I also go, if that's possible, of course, I go for something in Kiev or in Ukraine to make it like more clear, more relatable. Like if it's a castle, and then it's got to be a castle in somewhere in Kiev. It's a hotel in Kiev. So just a picture, and there you go. Right. So this one, Russian is done. Okay. What's left?
Maybe neglecting word stress patterns and pre-teaching collocations and contextualizing them. Just to make sure we provide collocations with correct stresses.
Okay, so this one is mostly about drilling. Drilling fits like this one and obviously the other one, right? So it's also about drilling. Because sometimes we sort of skip this. Like some teachers tell me, oh, I will correct mistakes in pronunciation later. And there is tons of these mistakes later. So why didn't you do it in the first place? And there is obviously, it's a rhetorical question. So maybe spend a few seconds more, like stress, okay, guys, this record, it's like different depending on the form, on what part of speech it is. So it's again down to your preparation, or if you're a genius and you know everything, you can improvise something on the spot. Great. So about failure, to ask about collocations. Do you see something that could fit here?
pre-teach collocations.
Yeah, so that one again, pretty clear. Okay. So this one's gonna stay here. And this clear, concise rules, examples obviously fits this one, yeah, or contextual practice. So it's about both. So by this, I mean that for like, if you're teaching A2, don't give them examples that contain words like, I don't know, serendipity or something. So if you're explaining some word to A2, please don't include words like this in your explanations or examples because it makes no sense and it just takes your time and eats out your time further. All right, yeah, this actually a meme I made myself. Like all these memes here, most of them I made myself based on the notes. And a little note here about vocabulary, how it would work across different levels. So first I wanted to demonstrate, let's say you're teaching lower level, like A2 plus or lower. So usually you would do it classically, you would do it like this. You have a picture, desirable of better quality than mine, but still, I just like the sea view. So you have a picture here and you just need to explain or use this picture for elicitation, like everyone look at this picture or pictures, what does it show? Then you can go into elicitation. Okay, so it's running, but it's like, it's not quite running. Maybe you know the word for running slowly, or maybe you know how to say run, but when you don't spend all of your energy. So think of some ways beforehand how you can do elicitation here. Then you can go with some concept checking questions. All right, yeah, so go jogging, but can I go jogging at home? Or is eating cake healthy, for example, if you're looking for some like this health vocabulary. Then you would drill pronunciation. Can be something super simple. We're not going to go deep into drilling techniques. Yeah, just pick one student. He will say the word. That works in most cases. And then you say, okay, like now work in pairs for, it's very small activity, 3 or 4 minutes. If it's some really difficult phrase, you can work it out, this go jogging in pairs. So like you both have a weekend plan. So think about your weekend plan for healthy lifestyle, like real situation, which is relatable for students' lives. They will not ask you, why the hell am I doing this? Like, where am I actually going to need this in my life? So by this way, you're already kind of conveying this message that they are learning real English here, contextualized, personalized, like not some abstract textbook English. So, and afterwards, very important, like you don't sit scrolling TikTok or Twitter, right? Of course, you can sometimes, like I don't mind, but most importantly, that you monitor because you might hear some mistakes there, or they will ask you to help with ideas for their speaking, they will struggle, or they will ask you, Ivan, could you please translate? Could you translate this word taburetka for me, please? I'm so lost. And you will rush to your computer and just, okay, ChatGPT, help. What's taburetka in English? So, and then, of course, you can do some delayed error correction. So from here, we're moving a little bit to my point about correcting errors, because again, here, everything is random places of the picture. So have a look, please. First, these are the type of tasks. Which one of these blue or whatever color this is, which one of these is free practice and which one do we call controlled practice? Any guesses again?
Mention is controlled.
Yeah, sure. So quite obvious. Why do you think it's called controlled?
Because student has a how to say this, limited frame surrounding where he's literally being controlled what he must use, whether it's grammar or vocabulary. He doesn't need to come up with any of his ideas or their ideas, and just basically
Mhm.
work with the material I give.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad that you are so knowledgeable at this here. And this one is freer practice. We're going to discuss now, by the way. So my question to you as well is, which one of these do you think fits which one? It's like one square for one square, again, one sticky note.
The first one should be on the spot.
Right, right. So the whole point of those gap fills in roadmap or wherever is to correct a lot of mistakes on the spot, so that further in your lesson here in freer practice, they make fewer mistakes, and you will hear more or less correct language, target language that you are learning. And here, okay, they will make mistakes, of course, but you can rely on self-correction, peer correction here still, but you correct it on the spot. That's the main point here. So coming back to vocabulary, we already did like the lower levels, drilling pronunciation, and very simple, some like pretty simple speaking task to consolidate the knowledge. And now talking about this, what you would do on higher levels. It would probably look like this. You say, okay, so especially with business students, right? There is a lot of B1 plus and higher business students for us right now, and they're all looking for real language, real situations. So you would do it like this. You say, okay, these are pictures of some real people from real companies in Ukraine, for instance. So imagine you are starting your company and you need to choose a partner of this. So there is Olena, Maria, and Petro, for instance, right? So you need to choose one. And while you're choosing, you have to explain it. So how they will help you with your website, and you have to use our language from today. It could be chunks that you learned because business partner focuses on chunks a lot, or it could be some words, phrases, collocations, whatever. So, and let's say we taught 3 chunks: take a risk, make a deal, give someone a hand, and you explained it using some context. You checked it using some guiding questions, concept checking questions. So, and then you tell them, okay, so choose one person from these short bios. Maybe you can write some information about these people very shortly. And so give the timing, you have 5 minutes to come up with some ideas, and then they will do some productive speaking here. So that's my point. That was about vocabulary. And now, again, we're going to practice a little bit. I'm going to tell you some things as if I'm a teacher, like a real teacher on a real lesson. And you're going to listen and tell me what you think was. Oh, I brought the wrong one here. Okay. Okay. So, anyways, I remember it. Okay, so let's say I did stuff like this. Can you see it well here?
Yes.
but could you possibly make it a little bigger?
Sure, I'm gonna copy it to Zoom chat, and in Zoom chat there is an option to zoom
Yeah.
in, right? You can Control plus and it will zoom in. There are some mistakes here. Which ones do you think are the most obvious?
Translation, right from the very beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't even give you a chance, just bihti. Why? Okay. Any other mistakes here?
You as a teacher are very sure that the students already know this word. Haven't even checked it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So you don't even know if students really know this, but somehow, for whatever reason, you suppose. Okay, and there is one more here. Like a screaming mistake as well, which I noticed when teachers get stressed or nervous or anxious, they start doing some commentary. Like, oh, this is a nice word, only 3 letters. I love this word so much because it's so easy to learn. Do you know this word? Of course you know. So it's all teacher talking time. Like your teacher time got to be clean. So it got to be like really short, productive, nothing, nothing that looks odd there, nothing that sounds odd. Don't do commentary. Oh, I just dropped a pen. Oh my God, what am I gonna do with this? Can anyone help me with this pen, or should I look for a new pen? Like, don't go into this panic mode on the lessons. Don't comment on anything. You're not there to give these comments. You're not a commentator. So I hope I didn't like sound rude. I just wanted to get my message across. Okay, so it's just basic things they teach you those different like Cambridge certificates or whatever. So yeah, so it was an obvious mistake here, but with vocab, do you have any questions, anything you would like to clarify about vocabulary? Because there is some more things, and I'd like you to have a look and tell me if you would add anything to this list of do's, like what you should do in terms of vocabulary. Like based on students' reviews about you, of course, you're familiar with most of this. My question is mostly about Reale. Have you heard about this word before? Does it scare you, or does it make you think something weird?
No,
Not
absolutely
scared
not.
because we study linguistics, that's why we
Mm,
use.
right, got you. Yeah, so it might not be obvious, but it's actually just to diversify your tools. Because even if it's picture, every lesson is fine, but sometimes you can mix it up and bring a real pen for a lesson or some real object like I did with flip-flops once upon a time. So, and my student remembered. So he didn't remember anything, but he remembered flip-flops because I was a Sevastopol guy. So anyways, yeah, this is the thing here. So my main point is, as usual, that vocabulary, grammar, it's not something that we teach in isolation. There is always, for each vocabulary unit, there is some context, a sentence, a collocation. Like, do you know some collocations? Can you give me an example sentence with this? Can you read this word, how it sounds? So you can't really neglect any of these, no matter the timing, like no matter the level. It's all the same thing because sometimes people do neglect it. And drilling, as I said, like please always clarify what part of speech it is. Like, are you talking about a noun or a verb? Maybe write a V or N in brackets, okay, after the word. If it's important, if it's countable and countable, you can also somehow stress it like the way they do in Cambridge Dictionary. So, and try to integrate more visuals, pictures. I'm not asking you to do videos, of course, but pictures would be nice, especially for lower levels. One teacher told me she worked in Cambodia with kids who didn't really know, weren't that fluent at Ukrainian, you know. So she said, fine, like I just prepared some pictures, smileys, emojis, whatever, and everything worked well for her. So always consider how you can use pictures. So regarding this vocabulary thing, is there anything you would add? Like do you feel like I missed some important points? Would you like to add something or should we move further?
Maybe using some songs and rhymes, especially for some lower levels.
All right, rhymes, like poems, verses. Okay, okay. Have you ever done these, what is they called? Tongue twisters.
Not really, only if we talk about phonetics, just for that case, but mostly songs from YouTube, even if they're for children, I use it for lower level adults and they love it. That's the best way to remember some
Yeah.
words in grammar forms. I love it.
All right, cool. So I'll give you 5 seconds to look at these memes, and then we'll move on further. Next part. Do you relate to these memes? This first one, actually, I made myself. I don't know, I was inspired by one of my lessons at B2, I guess, so yeah, inspired by a real experience. Okay, great. So let's move on to the part with grammar. I'm gonna have a really high spike of teacher talking time. I'm really sorry for that. I'm gonna speak here, but yeah. So again, this is based on observations. And first, I would like to go here like step by step. It's classics of methodology, but this is something that is missing from lessons sometimes. First, I would like to tell you what challenges do you usually face, like especially repeatedly. Yes, some that you can't solve for some reason, and some that are the most common. So could you give me some ideas here?
The difficulty for a student to associate this very grammar with Ukrainian.
All right, difficult to associate with Ukrainian. That's a really nice point. Do you think there is some way we can sort it out?
We can somehow.
Somehow. By clapping and praying, yeah, as always. Okay.
It is a difficulty because English somehow is sometimes similar to Ukrainian, and I provide some Ukrainian examples and associations. And sometimes it's completely different, and usually they completely don't understand this English, and yeah, it's quite funny.
All right, about difficulty to associate it with Ukrainian. First of all, what level are we talking?
Actually, any level.
Any level. All right.
Yes.
So the level of translation depends on the levels, right? So if it's B2 or plus, or like B1 or higher, those levels are, maybe you can tell me what is like the desired ideal level of translation on the level in percentage. What do you think?
The higher level, the less translation.
Absolutely. It works the same as teacher talking time. The higher the level, the lower teacher talking time, the higher the level, the lower your translation is supposed to be. So how can we tackle this without translation? Maybe you could give me a specific example, like what was the topic, if you remember, of course. I understand. Was it mixed conditionals? Was it past perfect? Because that really depends on the context.
It's mostly about tenses, I guess.
Mhm, mhm.
Especially something like past perfect or present perfect
Right,
or present perfect and past simple in comparison, something
right.
like this.
Right. So, all right. So let's move straighter to the point. Students at high levels may think that grammar is something they don't need anymore. Okay. Yeah. So Olga, I relate to this one. I heard this one recently, where half of the group told me that they can't imagine their English without grammar. Please, let's do all lesson. Let's focus all the lesson around grammar. And the other two told me, we don't need grammar. We're not going to attend your lessons if we're going to if we're going to learn grammar. So, so I had to do a speaking grammar lesson. It was fun. I love challenges as a teacher, so it was great. I developed a little bit. It was at FTP, I guess, or somewhere, some corporate students. So yeah, that's the case here. So you can balance between these two, but I wanted to talk specifically about grammar. So Ivan brought a really good point here, and I'm glad that it coincides with what I prepared. So with grammar, it's usually the same flow. You can use it, of course, depending on what platform you use, like if you go into Miro or Canva or whatever you prefer, even if it's like whiteboard in Pearson, right? You can still go for something or just download pictures from Google. So the main point is if students don't understand words, some of them struggle with understanding like verbal instructions, verbal explanation. So when you prepare your lesson plan, you always consider this like, am I gonna get my message across to students that have different sort of perception types, let's call it. So visual students and students who understand verbal explanations and students that don't understand anything ever. So you have to get to all of them, right? Uh, and in this case, I brought this up like past perfect specifically because it was a situation in one of my groups where they asked me, so they told me, could you explain past perfect? Although it was a different topic that time, but I quickly drew this thing, which is called timeline here. There are different variations of them, but mostly it's kind of the same because it's classic, it's timeless. I drew this timeline and they told me, okay, so for 11 years at school, like we failed to understand it, but then you drew this timeline. It was visual, it was clear that one action here, the other here, boom, we understood everything. So always consider these visual things. Secondly, what I noticed is teachers, for some reason, rush to explain all the grammar in 5 minutes, regardless of the level. So whatever lesson you prepare, it's first of all, you look at two things, what level it is, right? And what type of learner. So if it's A2, you understand, okay, it's either, so first of all, it's slower pace. They will tell you, Mark, please don't run, don't rush. Could you speak slower? So I understand, okay, I gotta be slower. And second thing is maybe, so adapt your pace, adapt your language, like cater it to students' level and inject more visuals to your lesson. And the thing is that it works across all levels, but with higher levels, you can ask more, like much more, and do much more elicitation because of their knowledge, right? Clearly. So So you would probably ideally with B1, you would start like this. So what do you know about the structure? When do we use it? Where do you need it in real life? Could you suggest some examples? And you need to work out all forms. The same as with vocabulary, you follow the same principle, like meaning, form, pronunciation. And boom, you have it like here. For some reason I missed here a question sentence, but whatever. So you discuss all forms. And then what is also a pain in my neck as well, when teachers ask, do you understand? Everybody is nodding, especially those terrified A2. They're looking around. Yes, teacher, we understand. Everybody understands. I'm not stupid. I understand. And so, and so it ends up like this. So the teacher didn't check understanding properly. They go to controlled practice, tons of mistakes in controlled practice, tons of wasted time. And it all could have been solved just by this, just by asking some, like doing some proper checking of understanding. So asking which action happened first, which action happened second, what form is used here, and what form is used here, and why. So it's all down to your preparation. Again, it's like super obvious questions. It's super easy. There is nothing easier than this. Again, most of you probably know half of this, but sometimes lack of preparation, stress, whatever reasons there are, like students unfortunately don't care about that. They want results. So as for examples, as I told you about pictures, about or whatever, the same logic applies here. Try to do something that is closer, that would be more relatable. If it's an example sentence, make it about Kyiv, Lviv croissants, Kyiv electric scooters, whatever it is, right? Depending on your students. The more personalized, contextualized, the better, the easier for them to understand, because sometimes nowadays people, I don't know, just something feels off about their understanding. So I'm trying to make simple, short examples, relatable, and ones that make it like crystal clear. And then as for tasks, now, how can we check understanding except these CCQs? You can ask them to transform. You can ask them to correct mistakes in sentences, like give them a wrong sentence, just one or two sentences, and they will correct mistakes collectively. And as for CCQs, you can clarify whatever you think is important. In this case, with past perfect, it's important to like stress that there are two actions in the sentence necessarily, and that one happened before another. So that's why we're doing stuff like this here. That's it. So as for other things regarding grammar, I wanted to show how ideally, well, how I personally sometimes do, but of course you can do it a little different. But what we really need on the board for further practice, there is something students already know, like when you do your intensive elicitation, like past perfect, what is it used for? It's used for early action in the past. We form it with had plus past participle. So then you go through all the structures, and then maybe you can add on the other part of the board, whatever board it could be, right? So I personally, I'm not a fan like of Pearson board because it's not extremely convenient, but still, you can use it if you feel like you're a strong person. So, and here you can put some new information, markers, or whatever was new for them, right? And so a little point here about higher levels, that unlike A2 or lower, where they will struggle to give you their own examples, always push for students to give you 1, 2, 3 of their own. Okay, like pick students and they will tell you their own examples. That's also a way for you to see that they actually understand. So not just CCQs, not just your sentences as a teacher, but their examples before controlled practice. So that's probably the most information about grammar. And this is the meme I made myself after teaching mixed conditionals in some group on Kolovska, I guess. Have you seen memes with this template? No? Before? Don't know. It's a classic meme about like Captain. What year? I think this guy originally asked like, what year is it? And this man here on the left says, oh, it's only Wednesday, Captain. So yeah. Okay, so anyway, this is the part about grammar. Is there anything you would like to add or ask me about? So feel free.
I actually would like to ask, as once I've heard the idea, like when, for example, there is a control practice or anything like this, and it's a new grammar or just a new material, it is not really necessarily to ask why you do this or why you use this way the material, because it may just take time of the lesson. And what is the reason for student to explain that something that he uses correctly? Is there a point to re-ask why they use this very grammar or words or something like this?
Great. Yeah, thank you. As always, I love your questions straight to the point. Yeah. So any qualified methodologist or like a teacher with experience would tell you that students appreciate clarity and involvement. So that totally makes sense. Like 100% of your lessons have to include this. Why this? And why not this? And what markers help you to understand it? Or what phrases in the sentence? Or like how does context help you to understand? Always ask why about every sentence. Absolutely. That's like the whole point of this, right? Not just write sentences and let's speak now. So yeah, sure. All right, any other questions or we move on? No questions about grammar, really? All right, all right, great. Unfortunately, all of you have good reviews from students, so I can't really say. All right, so again, my extremely funny meme about challenges. Okay, do you know this template? Do you know what series it is? So I guess it's Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something.
Yes.
Have you watched it?
Yes.
Okay, so you know this name, great. So basically, first, as always, I would like you to tell me your thoughts. First of all, if you had like situations like this during your speaking practice at your lesson, and like what are the most common challenges that you would like to discuss here?
I don't know.
All right, I
Like
give you
the request.
It's a request from the students.
No, yeah, not request, but the answer. I don't know. I don't know. Every time, I don't know.
Mhm. That's a nice point.
Like,
here.
I
Yeah.
and I explain students that, well, you know, to be really honest with you, I don't really care.
Mhm.
Uh, I just want you to use everything we
Right.
studied during the lesson. So even if you tell me a lie and it's not specifically true about you, please just use the vocabulary and grammar that we studied. Just create something, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, I get your point here. So, everyone, how do you think we can tackle this? Is there anything we can do beforehand, especially if it's a repeated problem, like recurrent problem? Do you think we can manage it somehow as some
Give
sort of
give some prompts, some ideas that
prompts,
they can think about.
prompts, ideas? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for input here. Sorry, it sounds so corporate, but yeah, it's just business partner. It's, I don't know, I feel like it's some sort of chip, that was incorporated into my brain. I'm speaking with this business partner chunks. I don't know. So give prompts, and also when it's that bad, yeah, like Ivan said, when the situation is that bad, you usually start small, like a psychotherapy or something. So you start small. First, they say phrases, then they move to like small sentences, and then finally, hopefully, they will give normal sentences at some point. Especially if they are aided by, as we said, like prompts or chunks or whatever. And yeah, so visually, it's got to be like somewhere in front of their hands. So we'll always take this into account, right? This vocabulary you have posted in some page in course book, but it doesn't mean it's going to stay in their head. So you put it somewhere on the board. Okay, so there is a lot of information here. I know what you're thinking about this, right? So I just wanted to stress a couple of things. It's all down to just a few points. So first of all, that some teachers unfortunately don't give enough time for preparation, and that's why it fails. So if it's lower levels, especially, please give them some time, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on the task, right? Or also, you can adapt the task to something extremely simple. So if they can't generate sentences, for instance, you give them a dialogue or role play which is already generated by artificial intelligence, by you or whatever. Just make sure that you make it easier for them. Then something that Ivan mentioned as well, like you should prepare properly. So you provide them with phrases. If it's debates, you can prepare and already give out these phrases, send them to Telegram, Zoom, or whatever, a list of phrases they can use, give them time. It's already like 30, 40% of work is made easier for you. Then, especially with business students, like try to give them real situations, not some abstract task 9 from roadmap. Always analyze what roadmap offers you, because sometimes it's a little tragic. So I personally try to give very simple but relatable tasks. If it's business students, then it's about like logistics company. Let's say you have this case, this situation in your logistics company. How would you solve it as a team, in pairs, individually, whatever? Also, some teachers just forget about existence of some students. So teacher talking time is student talking time. It's not only about balance, but it's about how well you spread it across different students. So it's like really common that some smart students sort of overshadow others. So try to follow this and don't let Petya speak more than Kolya at your lessons, right? It's vital. And why our speaking tasks fail often, it's because students look at your handout. There is like tons of information, like at this screen, they get lost, overwhelmed. And some of them hopefully ask you, like, what am I supposed to do? But some of them will not. So make it clear, like if it's 3 roles, write in 1-2 sentences what each role is supposed to do. Maybe even prepare some questions, phrases they should tell as part of their role. Give super clear context, like you are in Kyiv, you need to buy tickets for your airport, for your plane or whatever. And go for something specific and relatable there. So they will understand it. It will be easier to get them to understand it. So I wanted to ask you about this one as well, because timings, like I'm not sure everyone is able to control time using their brain, like their mind or whatever. So what do you think we can do in terms of managing timing? Like, do you know websites with timers, or do you know some functions on Pearson, English Connector? What do you do there?
Yep, I always set up a timer on Pearson platform, and I also inform students like when 1 minute is left or 2 minutes are left. So kind of like that, informing in advance.
Mm-hmm. Right. And my question is also, how do you track time? So do you actually use timers, Or do you rely on something else, your sense of time or whatever?
I use a timer, a real timer, yeah.
Oh, I really like a physical one.
No, like the one on Pearson, but sometimes I buy phone.
On
Oh,
Pearson.
yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. Great suggestion. All right, no other thoughts about time. Okay, then I'm gonna ask you about micro speaking. Like, what the hell did I mean here by micro speaking? What do you think?
To ask their point of view on the matter.
All right, so let me clarify a little bit. It could be some personalized question after, I don't know, after some, could be controlled practice. So if it was past perfect, you can further ask some more questions to sort of force them to use it. Like, had you done it before you woke up? Like, to develop discussion a little further. So it's personalized or follow-up questions, depending on the situations, right? Because sometimes teachers just ask questions from roadmap and there is no follow-ups. You just, okay, next one, yeah. And you, Okay, so try to use some, don't forget about follow-up, especially like warm-ups, especially speaking practice. This is key, crucial here. Go for personalized, very simple questions, like, have you had this experience? And how do you do this? And have you faced it before? And had you done this before you did this? So keep that in mind. And here I put some don'ts for, I guess it was for speaking as well. So let me. So please, about your instructions, what do you think is wrong here? Because I've literally heard this one.
Discuss with your partner and react on what they say. Like,
all right, but still, what's wrong with this one? Do you think it's specific enough? Let's put it this way. Do you think this instruction is specific?
We need
Like,
to
in what
set
way?
clear frames, probably some questions, topics that they need to talk about, not just the topic in general.
Yeah, thank you. Great point. So we don't say like this, so we come up with something more specific. Yeah, as I described previously, clear context. This is a situation, this is your role, these are the phrases you can use here. That's it. Someone was flooding my chat. Sorry, I got distracted. All right, the second one here is that we don't correct every mistake. Why do you think that is?
Not to distract, and also it's not a controlled practice, so it doesn't need to be controlled in any way.
All right, cool. And if we come back a little bit to warm-up, what do you think about warm-up? Like, are we supposed to correct some mistakes here?
no.
Yeah, so clearly the whole point here is not to correct mistakes, just ignore whatever they said. I don't mean ignore mistakes that they make, right? Not what they are saying. So yeah. All right. So in freer practice, yeah, so we don't correct every mistake. And one more point here is that I'm going to describe it a little later as well, that teachers focus only on mistakes. Like, they don't really praise students for something that they said well. So note down like 2 or 3 sentences that were said properly. And after that, you can correct mistakes, put mistakes on the board, like balance it with good sentences. Okay, what do you think we can do about this one with long instructions? Is there any way to manage it when roadmap gives you a paragraph of instructions, or you get somehow confused and you start repeating yourself, confusing instructions and whatever? Is there any way we can manage this?
We can just simplify them and break into smaller ones.
Absolutely, yeah. So and also you can simplify language there. And how about translation? Would you go into translation here? Any thoughts? Like they failed to understand your instructions. All of this failed. Your manageable steps didn't work. Simplified language at A2, unfortunately, they still didn't understand it. Okay.
Maybe set some examples, like sentences.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what is usually suggested is that you do the first sentence, for example, the first sentence to someone. I know it could sound obvious, like, but I feel like I need to somehow explain this to you. Yeah, and as for instructions, again, depending on the level, I'm not gonna say you can never translate. I'm gonna say translate when it's necessary. So don't translate unless it's absolutely necessary. So as a last resort, translate, but again, it's not always necessary. So with instructions, please don't rule out gestures, okay? Like don't write them up, because sometimes you can just show what to do. Like you need to write, you need to read with lower levels. You can use gestures a lot there. So finally, I guess we're running a little bit out of time. This is some points also based on my observation notes. And first of all, I would like to tell that it's not like the best idea to do grammar at the last 5 minutes of the lesson, or listening, or do like literally anything except some reflection, because everybody is already thinking about eating borscht or walking the dog already. So you're still not going to get the best out of your students. So first, I wanted to ask, how do you usually do reflection or feedback sessions or whatever? Maybe you're going to bring something new. My stuff is too classic. Like, what do you usually do to end the lesson properly in the last 5 minutes, except giving homework, right?
Just summarize what we've learned, or ask them to use some new collocations or phrases that they have grasped from this lesson. 3 words from each student, and of course praising them, because they always do great no matter what they do. Yeah. And I guess just asking them where can they use those, again, phrases or grammar structures in their personal life or at work, depending.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. As I was told by my tutor on my CELTA, you should keep in mind that it's like, imagine that each of your students has a bag, that their knowledge is inside the bag. So after each lesson, ideally, everyone should go with this, leave your lesson with this bag a little heavier. So you bring a really good point here. Like, what did you learn compared to you have learned this, and I have taught you this, and that's why I'm a brilliant teacher. Yeah, so it's a question of linguistics here again. Wrapping up what we did and say what shall we do the next time. Yeah, absolutely. So it all boils down to what I described here. You don't really need to change this a lot. Like, you can follow the same script every lesson because there's not much here you can change, right? No room for maneuver. You basically say what was difficult, what was useful for you, can you use it in real life? Or do you feel like we need to change some methods or some things, focus? Do you feel we need to focus more on grammar next time? Like, do you feel you understood it completely? So make them feel like you actually have some sort of rapport with your students, that you are a real person. They can talk to you. You will not scream at them or beat them up for something. Like, try to establish this contact with your students, because I'm telling this because, like, otherwise your only other alternative is when students tell some feedback to managers, and it's usually well, if it's like some accumulated, you know, like, let's say they get offended by something, not to say offended, but like these issues, they, accumulate, and then they bring them all out to the manager. So it's better if you do this, monitor their mood and their request to you as a teacher. The point here I already described, right? Like, praise them whenever you can. You told a good sentence, brilliant, you're a genius, but try to be more specific about this feedback. So not just always tell, okay, great job with a smile. Try to be more specific, like, oh, you used this new phrase that we learned. Great, well done. Use this new grammar structure we learned. Okay, perfect. So, and these sentences, this was genius, but here, could you help me correct them? So with error correction, also try to not just tell this is a mistake here. If they don't understand, try to be more specific. There is a grammar mistake in this sentence, or there is a vocabulary mistake in this sentence, or you missed an article here. So depending on the level. Olga has to go, and yeah, happy Easter, everyone. Happy Easter, Olga. You're free to go. We're also about to finish soon. So, and the last point, try to, again, it's for your own sake and for students, try to build some bridge between your lessons. It means in the warm-up, just the same way as you can revise some sort of stuff in your warm-up, in the same way, try to summarize, as Anastasia said, things about your lesson that you have just taught, okay? So students see the actual link between lessons, that you're not just picking stuff randomly from ChatGPT and websites and just overloading them with it, but you actually have like this systematic approach as a teacher, and you're a professional. So that was probably it. Now, if you wish, we can have a few minutes. Yeah, I brought some memes as always. We can have a few minutes to discuss whatever questions you have still left about whatever you want, just not about my personal life, but regarding something that's connected to methodology, English, lessons, your challenges you have faced, or whatever you feel like we still need to discuss. All right, thanks for thumbs up. It brightened up my day. So my last point to everyone is that it's going to be a concept checking question to you. So like, do I expect you to implement all of this in one lesson perfectly? What are your thoughts?
No.
No.
Yeah, it was a rhetorical question. So focus on one thing at a time, right? Don't go for all the stuff. Your head is gonna boil. So focus on fixing one thing, then the next lesson set some other personal aim, and eventually you will see that you will actually make progress. So I'm probably gonna do a next one I guess in May. So hopefully you're all gonna come to the next one as well. Please let me know if there is something you would like to change about this webinar. I did whatever I could, but maybe it wasn't perfect. So you can write me in direct messages what you would like to see next time on Telegram, right? And you can tell me what you liked also about this webinar. So yeah, thanks everyone so much for participation. Have a great day and have a great Easter. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
The webinar. Goodbye.
See you.